Okay, Peter, welcome to Slovakia. It's a pleasure to have you here. To start, I will mention that you began as a rum blogger with your website, the Floating Rum Shack. For people who may not know you yet, how would you introduce yourself and your role in the rum world?
That's all right. That's a good question, and it's changed a lot over the years. I started as an amateur enthusiast, and then put the website out, which then sort of took it to another level. Once you start producing content, then you start getting introductions and people want to take you to places and things. And so, I very quickly found myself visiting all kinds of parts of the world, but still as an enthusiast. And it gets to the point where I spent all my time trying to barter a half day here at work. I go like, if I stay late on Thursday, can I have Friday afternoon off so I can go to a tasting in London? It's that kind of, you reach a limit, and eventually you've got so much enthusiasm and for the category that you want to take it a bit further. So I left the day job and I went full-time rum for hire.
And at what point did the Floating Rum Shack become more than just a hobby?
Well, that's it. So it went from 2008 is when it started, and then it went up. 2013, 2014, it was at its height. But I left industry. I left my real job in 2013, and then I went full-time rum at the beginning of 2024. And then where I am right now is more of is the brand ambassador for Foursquare Distillery in the UK, and that started in 2017.
Now let's talk about transparency in rum. What does transparency actually means to you?
For me, rum should be what we talk about as being authentic, so it should be unmodified. And if you are going to add something to it, flavorings or sugar or whatever, then you should disclose that you're doing it. That's, to me, is transparency. The world of rum has got so many different production styles, points of molasses, cane juice, syrup, distillation styles, lengths of aging. So there's lots of variation, and all of that's authentic. But when you add something to it, then you need to disclose, and that's when you need to be transparent.
Is transparency only about the added sugar, or is the problem wider?
I think there's a lot more going on, personally. You only need to taste some things to know that it's more than just sugar. There is definitely flavour being added, more vanillins and things. Do I have a scientific test certificate saying that so-and-so's been added? No, not right now, but you trust your palate. Your palate will tell you a lot about it, but you need to try authentic spirits to then understand the flavoured ones.
Sure, you're right. You work as the brand ambassador for Foursquare and Doorly. What makes Foursquare so respected among the serious rum drinkers?
Mostly Richard Seale. I would say it's a combination. He makes excellent rum. Does he make the geekiest rum for the Doorly's range? Is not something like a DOK from Jamaica or that kind of super high ester. That's something else. He makes consistently wonderful drinking rum, and time in time, and also, and I would just say that 10 years ago I was loving his rums. Now I'm loving his rums even more, and I'm actually very excited for the rums to come in the next 10 years because generally they're just building up. But it's about having a consistency of approach and just layering flavors on from different casks, but also not being afraid of ABV. It's about presenting rums at higher strength that really add up. So he is just the consummate rum maker all the way through.
We have mentioned already Richard Seale. How do you describe Richard Seale's influence to a modern rum?
I would suggest that there are a number of people that sort of stand out in the industry for all kinds of reasons, but Richard has been there right from the get-go, and it might have been a long time ago now that he was talking about sugar and additives, and he hasn't talked about that for a long time, not in masterclasses. Now he's talking about history and so much more, but there's always a point of conversation, and when he brings something new, people stop and listen because it's genuinely interesting, I've known him for a long time. I've listened to him talk many times, and yet every time I always get something new. There's always a little new thing to learn. So I feel that he's been a thought leader. I feel like he's brought products to the market that nobody else had done. You think back 2004 vintage. When that came to market, 11 years old, 59%, in the UK market, it was £45. At that time, it's ridiculously cheap for something that was pretty much unique. And it's been a two-way thing. He releases things, people like them, they buy them, that gives him confidence to release more interesting things. And so this two-way thing. So he's been very important, but the people that have been drinking it give him confidence to carry on what he's doing. So it's a two-way affair. But he is a thought leader.
I think he's the person who brings the rum to the 21st century, like for the highest category of spirits like whiskey and cognac.
Yeah, I agree. You can trust his products. Lots of people, you could say, brand new products on market. If you put your money on the counter and buy the bottle, you know you're going to have a good bottle. Maybe you won't prefer that one quite as much as you like the last ECS, but you're going to enjoy it. Like, it's still always going to be an excellent rum. So I don't think the rum world would be in the position it is without Richard Seale's influence. He hasn't done it on his own, but he has been right there all the way through.
What separates a good rum from a truly great rum when you judge blind?
Oh mate, that's a complicated question, and I don't need people putting me off. So, the moment that it hits the palate, and I do judge for IWSC, and I didn't Foursquare did very well just recently. I didn't judge those rums; that was a different panel. But you put it in your mouth. We had I did have the long toe, the 55% long toe, scored gold outstanding, and just immediately you get it on, you get this burst of flavour that stays with you, and that you can get in a blind tasting thing. To analyse a rum, you normally need 10 minutes, quarter of an hour, half an hour. And in a blind tasting competition, you get 2 minutes. But normally, the moment it hits your palate, you just know. And if you've tried a lot of rums, you know the ones that stand out. So I honestly, you just need to drink all the rum, and just you trust your palate, you know.
Which rum region or style do you think is most underrated?
Agricole rum. Cane juice rums in general, I think, and this is all due respect because as much as we love, I love the day-to-day drinking of Foursquare, I also love the specificity of single cane varieties that explore terroir, or that sense of place from a rum. When you age a rum, you bring so much more flavour to it. But when you get a little snapshot of an unaged rum, it could be purple cane from Madeira from our friends at Lombo de Lombo, a super small outrun of 100 bottles. How can you not be enthused by something like that? But I appreciate that if you're just getting into rum, that's going to be a very challenging profile for you, and maybe you need something a little easier on the palate. So this is part of the journey for me. That when you get to that point, then you're so far down the rabbit hole that there's no hope for you. You're trapped. You're a hopeless rum enthusiast, and you're just going to spend loads of money on ever increasingly amazing bottles.
Are there any experiments with cane juice on the Barbados?
You should know about it. I mean, yes. So Richard Seale has been a number of. So St Nicholas Abbey have been working with fresh cut cane for a long time. They make a syrup. Because St Nicholas Abbey, that's what they did in history. Centuries ago, they were making fancy molasses, so cane syrup. So they've been doing it for a long time.
But I mean Foursquare. Sorry.
From a Foursquare's point of view, yeah. I mean, 8-9 years he's been crushing cane, or initially working with syrup. There's been the small release, the triple entente, the long fermentation type, batch 1 and batch 2. These are small releases because most of what he's doing with cane juice is going straight into a barrel. Although it's not just cane juice, of course, there's a little bit of Mass's rum mixed in as well. It's a blend of both. So this has been going for a long time. The overwhelming majority is cask aged. A little bit comes out unaged. And I could take you over to the counter right now. We could try some Doorly Street, and there's a little bit of cane juice rum in there, which you might not have known about, of course.
I will try. So we had to move to the less sunny place. Where do you think rum is heading in the next few years?
So I think from a commercial point of view, I think the next couple of years are going to be quite difficult because I think cost of living and other factors mean that actually there's going to be less money. So the niche products that I find that people will find exciting maybe those brands will struggle a little bit in the market. So I think there's going to be a little bit of a dip, but like any recession, the dip will be followed by a recovery, and then we can then start getting back into those really exciting rums. I mean, I see lots of blends and things in the market, but for me, if the market's doing well, it's because we're pulling on some really interesting producers that reflect terroir, and so those are the ones that are a little more expensive in the market, and so when they can afford to come back, they'll be there. So I think a little dip and then will be recovery.
Okay, I hope so. What advice would you give to people who want to understand rum better?
So if they've never tried a rum before, then we're going to go with a single blended rum, and I'll probably give them Doorly's 12. Picking my own brands. Doorly's 12's got lovely approachability. It's soft on the palate. It's a nice little natural sweetness. And then if they've tried rum, well then maybe we'll try a blended rum from Jamaica. Yeah. And then if they want to be a little more exploratory, well then we'll get them an aged agricole, Clermont XO or something like that. That's a good place to start. Lots of flavour, but without being overwhelming and challenging.
Foursquare Epilogue is the final rum in the Exceptional Cask Selection series. What comes next?
I have no idea, and I'm not even kidding you. Honestly, everyone in the whole world right now wants to know just what's coming next. Richard Seale is keeping this very close to his chest. Honestly, I would tell you if I knew. I don't know.
Okay, that's interesting.
What I can say from the UK market is that our next allocation will be the same size as what we've been enjoying the last little while. The UK of the last few ECS, we get 1,300 bottles allocated for the UK, and the next ones will be 1,300 bottles. So it's going to be the same sort of allocation, but I don't know whether the price point's the same. I don't know the age. Who knows?
Okay. On behalf of all rum fans, I'd like to thank you for everything you've done for the rum world, and thank you for the interview, and enjoy Trnava Rum Fest.
Thank you.